Now let's talk about person-centered practice. You have to understand that at the end of the day, as a CHW, you're working with a client, you're working with a community. And so everything that is done needs to be tailored to that person. Um, Community health workers are the bridge between an individual or a community and their access to the healthcare. And so, in order to be that bridge, it is a CHW's responsibility to understand the person they are served, not the generalizations of the person, not the assumptions of the person, but who they're actually serving. And so when we talk about person-centered practices, it is an approach to healthcare and social support that prioritizes the client's individual needs, values, and goals rather than applying a one size fits all model. For example, a lot of people assume like, oh, this is a person of color, aka a black person or a Latino. So all black people, all Latinos have these issues, and these are the solutions that work with them. Just because someone shares a same skin color, just because someone shares a same cultural background or gender or sexual orientation, that does not mean that solution is going to work for them. Remember that when it comes to public health as a whole, we have the assessment, which is the core functions, which is assessment, policy development, and assurance. Assessment is all about finding what are the needs of the people, aka what are the needs of the person, and the most important person who is able to provide that information, right? The or stakeholder that can provide that information is the person who is going to be impacted, right? So as a CHW, that most important person is the client. The client is the one who should be driving efforts. The client is the one who should be participating and what solutions are going to be required in order to improve their behavior. Also, too, when we think about policy development piece on the core functions of public health, policy development piece speaks of, before you go ahead and implement something fully, we have to first try it out. Just because something worked in another community does not mean that's going to work in this community. So we have to try it out. And then when it comes to the last core function, public health is the assurance piece. Once again, even though something may be running well in the beginning, something might happen and then it doesn't work at all. So we have to continually evaluate, right? We have to assess to make sure it still works. So in person-centered care, the person needs to be at the center of everything. The solutions that are provided and the intervention and prevention strategies that are utilized need to be tailored to the individual's needs, values, and goals. So some key principles are focus on the client's needs, values, and goals. The clients are active participants in decision making. You cannot, as a CHW, make all the decisions for your client. Your client needs to make the decision because they're at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones who are doing the work, not you. CHWs work with clients not just for the clients, right? It's a team effort, right? CHWs are the facilitators. They are the co-partners in this, but at the end of the day, it is the client who's actually doing the work. So CHWs offer a support. Also need to focus on support and collaboration in order to empower the client to do what they need to do to create successful behavioral changes. And then why does person-centered practice matter for CHWs? Because one, it builds the trust, right? We are co-creating a solution for the clients to better themselves. That's the way to build trust. We also need to encourage self-efficacy, meaning that we need to make sure that the clients are able to or have the belief that they can do it on their own. So another piece too is the increased engagement, right? We want clients to be involved in the solution or decision making process. So when clients are involved, they're more likely to follow through with the recommendations that are provided. And also, lastly, it reduces health disparities, right? Those preventable differences. So having that understanding that when we tailor things to the client's needs, we have better outcomes because once again, it needs to make sense for the client, right? And just because something worked And with someone else, it may not work with this individual specifically. And so when we contrast that to more traditional practices where it's provider-centered care, where simply the provider is the one who is dictating what needs to be done, what is being shared, and the person-centered care really looks at a collaboration where we're trying to understand what will work best for the client, not the general, like, well, this works for everybody. Well, something's wrong with you because you couldn't do it, right? So it's more of looking at a collaborative effort. Also, too, the provider care is really, or provider centered, is really focused on disease or condition, while while the person centered care is focused on the whole person. We also need to understand decisions are made for the client when we talk about provider centered, and person centered decisions are made with the client. And then also we need to look at provider centered is more rigid structured, while person centered is more flexible. It's individualized to the client itself. And then also we need to, for provider centered, we need to, it assumes compliance and goals, or compliance and goals. And then person centered is really encourages self-determination and autonomy. There are some key components to person centered practices as well. So key components for person-centered practice, CHW can implement person-centered practice using the following key components. So unconditional positive regard. So when you think about that, that is accepting the clients without judgment, regardless of their circumstance or past decisions. Remember, these clients are going to be disclosing all sorts of things to you as a CHW. And so it's important to just listen to what they're saying and not trying to impose judgments on it, right? You're here to provide solutions. You're not here to judge what they've done. And so why does it matter? Because it builds trust and a safe space for the for open communication. It also helps clients to feel valued, validated, and respected, which helps them increase their willingness to engage and care. And how can CHWs practice this is by showing genuine care and empathy without criticism. Use supportive, non-judgmental language like you're making progress instead of you need to do better. And also to recognize that change is a process and setbacks are normal. What we want to avoid is criticizing or shaming clients for unhealthy behaviors and assuming clients have a lack of motivation if they struggle with change. Here's just a summary of all those key conditions. So unconditional, positive regard, strength-based approach, and implicit theory. And so we already went over the unconditional positive regard. So strength-based approach. So strength-based approach really just focuses on what clients can do rather than what they cannot do. And really what this does is allows them to build self-efficacy, right? The belief that they can do something, so their capabilities, and it helps clients recognize their own abilities and resources and increase motivation by celebrating small successes. And then how to CHWs practice this is by identify personal strengths. So really trying to understand what client can do rather than what they cannot do. Also highlighting past successes. So what has the client done really well in the past? And then also encourage problem solving instead of just pointing out barriers, really focus on, okay, well, if that is the problem, what are some solutions? What to avoid is focusing on a client's weaknesses and failures or risk factors. Using deficit language, like you always struggle with this. So deficit-based language is a focus on problems, weaknesses, or limitations rather than strengths, potentials, or progress. It emphasizes that a person's lack of struggles with a lack or struggles with instead of what they can do or improve upon. And then we also have the implicit theory, which understands that every person's worldview is shaped by their unique life experiences and the concepts that each of us develops based on our own life and work experiences. So why does it matter? CHWs need to avoid assumption and respect cultural differences, allows for better communication and trust building, and encourages a more tailored client-specific approach to care. And how does CHW practice this? By asking questions about clients' beliefs and backgrounds and past experience, right? You want to learn about your client. You want to learn about the individual you are trying to help. You can't make these assumptions. So really understanding, okay, what has exactly shaped your worldview? Like, Why do you think the way you think? What happened in your life? What have you experienced that has caused you to think this way? We also want to be aware of personal biases. A lot of times we make assumptions about cultural cultures, etc., and believe that people are this monolith, meaning that because they share the same color skin or gender, etc., that they all think the same way. We have to work really hard not to do that. Also, we need to, it allows a client to adapt health recommendations to fit the client's values and lifestyles. And the things we should avoid is assuming everyone thinks the same way or has the same priorities. Also, to ignoring cultural, social, or economic influences on behavior. And so, really, when we focus on person-centered practice, it leads to stronger client relationships, better health outcomes, and long-term behavioral change. It also shifts from expert-driven to collaborative care, and CHWs work with clients not just for them. Listen, support, and guide clients without judgment. Use unconditional positive regard, strength-based approach, and implicit theories to create personalized and culturally responsive care. And encouraging self-advocacy helps clients take ownership of their health journey while feeling respected and supported.